Hi folks. So I've tried recording this a couple of times, and every time I do it I kind of laugh at myself because, well anyways, if you've ever wondered what the difference between a knucklehead like me doing YouTube videos and someone professional like DC Rainmaker or others, it's not only in their delivery and their panache, but it's also in their equipment. So I have the GoPro kind of stapled to a selfie stick with a little thing on the bottom of it trying to hold it up. So I'm going to try not to bump the desk and the contraption that I have the Karoo sitting on right now. But what I did want to show, and I should have been doing this while explaining, you might already notice right off the bat that the font is different, and that appears kind of throughout. So let's step back, because once again I've done things backwards. So this is pre-release version 1.5.305.3, and while you're hearing my computer now, because the Karoo is actually plugged in, you may or may not be able to see the USB cord. The battery was down just a little bit, so this is probably going to be a rather long video, because my plan is to show you some things on the screen here. I'm going to go out for a ride here. You can see the new startup animation. So the plan is to go out to do this, then to go out for a ride, and I may or may not stop mid-ride and talk to you, and then the last step would be probably to bring the data into Golden Cheetah or something and look at it, because one of the big changes, and it's the very first thing on the notes, the release notes, is because they changed the Ant Plus stack. So that, I'm guessing that means, or my understanding is that that's the underlying Ant Plus code that's in the software. And as you may or may not know, depending on how far back you've watched these videos, I've had nothing but problems with Ant Plus connectivity, particularly to my Stage's power meter. But it's also occasionally affected my speed sensor as well. So this is the new screen. Looks very similar to the old, but there are a few differences. So one you'll notice is that, and they didn't announce this previously, but the video button is gone. The video button used to be there, is gone. The other thing is that I've set up a specific page just called ATG for testing some of the new data fields. So not too much. Well, some of these, I'll be honest with you, I may not have pre-looked at a couple of these, and this isn't looking great right now. I don't know why the activities isn't coming up. I don't know if it's it's possible that it's trying to sync right now after a reboot, so that took a little longer than normal, but this does have my previous rides. I think all you're getting right now, they didn't indicate any changes here. So what's interesting is that the font here is different, but the internal font within the data screens and the summary screens is not changed. I don't know if that's intentional or the routes menu is yeah, these are both all taking, basically looks the same as far as I'm concerned. I don't use it a lot. It didn't require me, or it didn't appear to require me to re-download anything. This pretty much looks the same. There's still no filtering options here, which is a bit of a bummer, and you can add routes. I'm on Wi-Fi right now, so I'm assuming that it would work, but I'm not going to try that right at the moment because I don't think really anything changed there. Data pages did change into some degree, and I haven't actually, that's one of the reasons I want to kind of take you on bike and show you some of these things to see what's happening. But I did set up this new ATG group. Auto pause is on. Let me pull down I don't really have a specific agenda here, so I'm kind of bringing things up as I see them. But actually, the second bullet item on the release notes after the Ant Plus notification, are basically asking the testers to test Ant Plus more extensively, is the second item is the overhauled quick settings menu. So if I pull this down, you can sort of see how different it looks. So and I've already pointed this out to them that I kind of don't like this. It is nice to have the ability to turn on the cellular and the Wi-Fi here, and when you turn on and off sensors, I can sort of show this, but it turns on. This used to be, I think, just Bluetooth. I forget what was in here, and that's the trouble with kind of not having a second unit that's maybe on the regular program, is that in some cases, and partly it's because I've been riding my cyclocross bike and not using the Karoo very much the last few weeks, I don't remember precisely what was here. So what they've done is, instead of having location as a toggle in here, they've added auto pause, which honestly I could kind of care less about. I either put auto pause on in a page set or I don't. I don't necessarily want to turn it on and off mid-ride, and you can see there's a little slash through it, and that's because I'm not riding. If I were to start a ride, you would actually be able to toggle that, and I have done that, and I can either show it now or show it on bike. The slide, this is the slider for the brightness. It's the same slider basically. It's just sort of a different presentation. And then the one new thing here is that, and you're seeing, I guess, my exact location in the world, but you probably could have figured that out from previous videos anyways. When you have location services on, it shows your latitude and longitude in this menu. Again, not sure how useful that is. Frankly, I'd rather have a toggle, because typically what I do, and I don't know if anybody else uses their Karoo the same way, when I go out for a ride, I turn sensors and location on. I turn data and Wi-Fi off because I typically don't need that. When I come back, I sort of reverse that process where I turn sensors off, turn location off, and I turn Wi-Fi on just for the purposes of uploading the ride, and then I turn that off. And that can help with, in my experience, with battery consumption or battery usage while in standby mode. So if you're just kind of sleeping the Karoo, it tends to draw a lot less power that way with all the sensors off and location off, because I think what's happening is that the Karoo is saying, it's constantly polling, saying where am I, where am I, where am I, if you have location on. And the same thing with Wi-Fi, because of the way it syncs routes and things from the website, it seems to kind of always be checking, whether there's something that needs to be downloaded or not. So navigation is the same. I have cues on, and I'm going to try that because there are some issues with that I've encountered recently. And then these are the screens where you're all familiar with these. So the map. Oh, that's interesting. It looks like it doesn't automatically add. Looks like it doesn't automatically add. Data elements to this, so I guess I'll add distance. I don't usually care about this. Actually, let's put battery percentage, and I have to delete that now. This is kind of a pain. I like having temperature, so we'll do battery and temperature just so we can keep track of that stuff on the map screen. Mostly I don't much care, and my computer here just slept, so if light levels are changing, that's what you're seeing. So this is what I initially set up for the lap, and what I'm going to do here is preview these. Well, these are just numbers, so this is going to be power, lap power, which I believe is reported as normalized, and then I have normalized power in here as well. I'm kind of curious to see what the difference is, whether normalized power here is over the course of the entire ride, or whether it's also a lap field. So that one's not very exciting. The power, I have only a few things here, but one of the new things, and I'll show it in the preview here, one of the new things is this middle power zone. When you preview it, I think I have to remove it in order to preview it because it won't let you add a data field 2 times. Which I guess makes sense. I'm trying to get over to power here. It's a bit of a wonky setup, as I just explained. There you can sort of see it in the middle, so it kind of just goes between power zones, whereas the other display item shows more granularity, I guess, for lack of a better. So you can see this one shows 2.5. I'm not sure what would happen with this one if this one was actually moving, if it would show 2 or if that would round up to 3. I'm not really sure. And I'm also kind of not sure why we need both of them. It seems like if they're changing the design, I'm not sure why they would have both options, because they both seem to show the same thing. I feel like I'm missing a lot of stuff, and I probably need to go back to my kind of main road bike page and kind of compare notes and write down what I have on these various pages, but I'm sure I'm missing some things. So let me scroll back. Yeah, so basically what I just showed you is the third bullet. So that's it says in my notes, added new graphic data fields for heart rate and power zones. I guess I can try to show you the heart rate one. I think it's going to actually look the same. Let's see, is it this one? Yeah, so it's the same circular graphic, just kind of bopping between the different heart rate zones. And then heart rate zone is the old style with the decimal place, I guess. Not really clear. Let's see, I'm moving down. It says graphically enhanced average speed, power, and cadence fields have been added. Graphically enhanced average speed. Okay, well, I'll bite. I'm going to go back to the main thing and let's see, add a data field. Some of these things I'm doing for the first time. Let's see, graphically enhanced average speed. Preview. What does that look like? I don't know what that little yellow thing is. Maybe I put it. Let me drag it. Let me drag it to a different position and see if it shows us anything different. Yeah, I don't know what that yellow. So there's three little pips on the side, and there's a yellow icon or yellow circle. I don't know what that would do as we're riding. So I guess I'll leave that on the data page for now. Actually, don't have my power on this, so I definitely need to do some comparison with my old data pages and try to kind of mimic them. But I didn't want to mess with my existing page set. Just because I wanted to be able to display some of these new ones and potentially not screw anything up. There was some note about having to take the old ones out and add them back in, or they might not look right. So I think that's mostly it for data page, although it says, what did it say? Average speed, power, and cadence. Let's see, cadence is on here. So I don't know what they did to cadence. Let's see, cadence is a separate screen. Average cadence. Let's drag that up next to average. Oops, up to average speed. Preview. Yeah, so that's got the same little 3 pips on the side and a thing. I don't know if yellow is good. I don't know what the other colors are. Is it like a stoplight, red, yellow, green? Not really clear. I guess we won't really find that out until we're moving. So the next thing on the list is a revised settings menu, and this is actually, I guess I'll give them props for this because it does actually look. So let's go to sensors first, because this is what I was talking about. So if I turn sensors off, you can see that both Bluetooth and ANT+ went off. You can toggle these individually, but if I were to go back to this pull down, it's kind of weird because it does show sensors on, but not both of them are on. So if you turn it off and then turn it back on again, you get both of them on. So I wouldn't necessarily trust this pull down to be sure that both sensors are on. You may want to just toggle it off and on to be sure that both Bluetooth and ANT+ have popped back on again. And somehow it's found my ticker across the room. And then the last thing really is the settings menu, and this is fairly significantly different if I remember correctly. I don't remember there being a colored Strava logo. You can see the font has changed. They appear to have rearranged some of these things. They say bike profile, and I guess that's sort of well, I guess it's a little running joke here, because you notice it's not bike profiles, so you can't set up more than one. So when you go in here, you're really all you're setting up is your wheel circumference. That's pretty much the extent of the bike profile. And this is where many of us have requested that sensors be attached to bikes because certain bikes have certain sensors. My road bike has a power meter, my cyclocross bike does not, things like that. Training zones, I didn't look at this, but I can only imagine that it looks different than it did before, and it just looks like this looks very similar. I think it's mostly just that the font has changed. This all in general looks cleaner. Offline map select sections, I noticed that for some reason it's appended 1 to the end of both the names, and I don't know, I'm assuming it did that during this last update. I can only assume they're here because you can't tap on these to see anything. It won't show you what it won't display what map area that is. So I'm not sure what the ones are. This all seems the same, and it's basically the same. It's basically the same menu that you can get to elsewhere. Cellular data is off right now, and I may turn that on later because someone actually requested that I try in-ride routing again. So depending on which course I select or route I select and where we go, I'm not sure how much time I have this afternoon, so I'm not sure how long a ride I'm going to do. And then all of these seem good, although I did pop into this elevation calibration, and that actually looked good last night, and now today that has drifted by about 200 feet in the wrong direction. It should be at about 150, and I don't know why it's showing negative. I wonder if I think what happened is I had it on manual. I think if I go back to auto, maybe it'll wake up. Yep, there it goes. So that appears to be a trick if you want to do a very quick kind of, I guess, calibration. You would think auto, it would just constantly be checking, but auto calibration, if the unit is left on, and even if it's stationary, it would appear to drift. So, and then, I don't remember what's under display. Okay, that's where you can turn on adaptive brightness, which they don't recommend doing. That's the other thing that's missing actually from the pull-down menu that I kind of liked, which is the theme. The dark versus light theme actually used to be in here, and it's not. So I think they took out location and the theme and replaced it with, that's my recollection anyways, they replaced it with cellular and auto pause, which, I don't often change the theme, so I guess it's not a huge deal. This is where you have to go to toggle location now. Side button icons are on. I don't think I've had those on before. I think I'm going to turn those, well, I guess we can leave them on. Unit system is imperial and metric, and as we know, there are some issues with that where most of us would prefer to put our wheel circumference in by millimeters. Let's see, storage. So that might be it. There is apps here, and it's the basic apps. If you've turned on developer options, you can show system, and you'll see a lot more apps in here. I can only assume those Ant Plus services are different than that were before. Maybe that's the underlying change. And so developer options are on system update. So the other reason this video is going to be a little bit longer, is because, and it's already long, is because you guys aren't going to see this for another 3 weeks. So the idea, I guess, was to give the advanced testing groups, particularly because of the Ant Plus changes, a couple more weeks. So they're skipping an entire cycle. So you're not likely to see this update until I think towards the end of October. I believe that was the information that we got. So the last two bullets on the revised, the settings menu is the third to last bullet. The second to last one is turn-by-turn instructions are now shown when riding on a route, but not having started a ride activity. I'm not sure what that means. I think maybe that means you can follow a map without recording, but that's not clear, or I'm not reading that correctly under the camera being on. And then it says introduce a new full color boot animation, which I've already shown. So the bug fixes are fixed an issue with the ride app displaying blank data fields. I know a lot of people have had that, so hopefully that's good. Activities no longer disappear from the launcher if the user minimizes the ride, then changes themes. Not sure what that's about. Fixed a problem where the crew was not automatically setting the time and time zone. Resolved the issue causing turn-by-turn instructions not to be shown on data screens. That remains to be seen. Ride recovery mechanism no longer recovers extremely short rides less than 5 minutes. So I guess if your crew is rebooting for whatever reason or crashing, if you haven't been recording for more than 5 minutes, you won't even get that section of the ride recovered, which I guess is good. I'm not sure. Fix an issue where the ride notification slide out is not removed if the ride was started by clicking on the status bar rather than the slide out. Yeah, I don't know what that means either. I guess that's the little thing that pops up. So if you haven't seen this yet, I'm sure most of you have by now. If you were to start a ride, this doesn't actually start the ride. I think we've talked about this before. There is a movement notification. If you haven't seen this, this little green, where next to the top button will kind of pop out if you actually start moving and you haven't started a ride yet. So I think maybe what they mean is that if you touch this button doesn't change, I guess. Not really sure. Anyway, so it's not clear what all these pips and dots and things are for, but again, I guess I'll try to cut this short, and we'll the next clip should be on the bike getting ready to start a ride. That was the last of the bug fixes, and then the features in progress. There's this big blurb about we're continuing to work on restructuring the essence of Karoo. I don't really know what that means, and it sounds kind of like marketing BS to me, frankly. But so I'm not going to read the whole rest of that paragraph. Ant Plus additions, further enhancements of the quick menu items, and graphically augmented data average fields, and then the lap counter data field. So I guess that means there'll be a button, or there'll be an actual lap counter data field, which is what that says, that will increment as you hit the lap button. I suppose if you're doing crits or you're doing maybe cyclocross and you want to know what lap you're on, the only problem with that is that I usually don't remember to hit that button, and Garmin's have an auto lap feature where if you cross over the same point, it will auto lap. I don't believe a Karoo has that yet, so I'm not sure how useful that lap counter function is without an auto lap feature for things like, if you do any track cycling or you do cyclocross or crits. Anyway, and then there's a bunch of information about the dashboard, which I hardly ever use. I'm not planning on setting up a dashboard or a new route. I'm just going to ride an existing route that I know has worked in the past and make sure it's still working with this version. So that's it for now. Next up we'll be on the bike, and then we'll see how that goes, and hopefully this doesn't get too super long. Hi folks, so I'm going to try to make this as quick as possible and get us going so the video isn't an hour long. I'm getting ready to ride. I did set up sensors, so Bluetooth and Ant Plus are both on. The Garmin speed sensor is connected, my ticker is connected. I haven't kicked the crank around. Apologies for this unsteady video. So there we go. So the Garmin speed sensor and the stages are connected via Ant Plus. The ticker, I believe, is only Bluetooth. I don't really have any reason to need to try that on Ant Plus. And so I'm on my ATG group. I'll start the ride and then I'll quickly go through the pages. Although I may have to try to record while moving, which is always interesting. I am going to pick a route here. We're going to do this route test that we've done once or twice before, and we'll hit start. So I should have I tried to mimic my fields, but we'll see how this goes. So it says continue. I have started it. It says continue ride. but I don't have a line on the map. So that's not a particularly good start. So I guess what we're going to do is... I guess what we're going to do is stop this ride, because this doesn't appear to want to work at all. We're going to discard this. So we're going to try it the other way, which is basically what was suggested and what other people have been having trouble with the turn-by-turn, is that you do this first. You start the ride first. So it started, although it's auto-paused. I'm going to tap this again, and I'm going to add a route. Wi-Fi is not on, and neither is my cellular connection, but this route should be available offline, and it said it is. So let's see. Well, so that does appear to be working, and it does appear, it says is back on the screen. So let's see if this moves. What's happened the last time I rode, and I think I videoed for you or recorded for you, this actually never went down. So assuming this goes down, I'm going to take off, stop the video. I'll maybe pick it up mid-ride. The other thing I was asked to try is to potentially route myself back home. So I may try that. We'll see how the turn-by-turn is going, and then we'll pick up from there. Oh, so other data fields, let me get rid of this. So I have kind of a power thing. Power zone is not appearing here at all, even though I added this back in. So maybe these don't work. Not entirely sure. This is kind of power and heart rate. This again is power with time in zone, so that won't really take off until we get moving back to the map. I do have a... Well, that's a blue line because it's a blue line because the route, so maybe that was working before. I apologize. So I feel like I should try that again for you. But I had forgotten that this ride doesn't start right here, so there wouldn't have been a red line, although there should have been a blue line, and I didn't see that. So we're just going to keep going with this, and then we'll circle back around at some other point. I'm hoping for a quiet stretch of road here, but the cars have been non-stop, so we'll do what we can. So I have figured out a couple of things. Not sure how well it's showing. Well, they're showing both as red right now. So the average speed right there and the average cadence, and there were the little dots next to them, and when you did a preview pane, all you saw was yellow. So while riding, I've been trying to watch it and figure out what's going on, and actually what I think they are, and Hammerhead or somebody else can correct me if I'm wrong, but they appear to be an indication of whether those values are going up or down. So red means your cadence from the last update is going down, green means it's going up, yellow means it's staying the same. It appears to be the same with the average speed. So my average speed, I guess while I'm sitting here, stopped, although it says it's paused. It's obviously my average speed is going to go down when I'm stopped. So that's number one that I've discovered. Number two is that, so these, and I'll try to ride, but this new circular visual, I guess for lack of a better term, it's showing 0 now. What actually happens in those boxes is that you get your power number, so, or your heart rate number. So when we were looking at it in preview mode, it just showed 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or 7, however many dots there are. When you're actually riding, there's actually a power number in there, and they're a little hard to see because I have them so small. I think what I might do at some point is adjust so there are fewer fields on a given page, and see if they're more readable. They're kind of hard to read, and I was wondering about that because when I was trying to add heart rate, so you can see here I have 5-second power, this power chart, I guess for lack of a better term, and then the power zone. On the other page here I have the same thing. I have 5-second power, and power zone, and then I have heart rate and heart rate zone, and I was actually trying to put the heart rate number in this field, or to sort of mimic what I was doing with the power, except you're not allowed to do that. So you can either have heart rate displayed this way, or you can have heart rate displayed numerically. You can't have both because it's basically the same data field, and you have to choose options. So these are actually pretty cool. They're just a little hard to read when they're that small. This is all working correctly. Turn by turn is working and has worked fine. I apologize to Hammerhead if I did it wrong. In my driveway, I forgot that this route didn't start in my driveway, so I wasn't immediately getting turn by turn, and I wasn't seeing the red line. But it has been working. These cues are good. I actually stopped here way back in the day, and I was confused because it was showing the current street name, but then the turn signal. This is actually correct. It's showing the name of the street that I'll be turning onto. So they haven't necessarily improved the actual turn indicators, because sometimes it's showing a hard left like this when it's really a bare left, and vice versa. The roundabout symbol is still, there's only one symbol it would appear for that, even if you're going straight through a roundabout. But the extra granularity that they added a few versions ago in the actual turn indicator is better, and you can tap that away from the map, and the map gets bigger. You can tap it away from these screens, although on these screens it doesn't change. It doesn't compress and expand. It just covers those bottom fields. So I think that's it. Let me clip in here. Let me switch over to, maybe this page will be more interesting. And actually, I'm going to pause for 1 second, and then I'm going to start writing and restart. So I'm not sure how well this audio is going to come out while pedaling, but hopefully it's clear enough that you can see the power number being displayed in the circles. Also, my heart rate is in those circles. Although I just did see a very weird visual effect here, and I'm actually hoping I catch it. It's gone away now, but the number in the circular power bar there was almost disappearing off to the left side of the screen. So I don't know if anybody else has seen that or reported that to them yet, but there it goes now. It looks a little weird. I don't know if I'm having any AMP Plus connectivity issues. The average power is so that circular chart is instantaneous power. The number on the top is my 5-second average, and you can see it's kind of low because I'm just sort of soft pedaling here so I can record, hopefully without crashing into anything or anyone. That's also why the heart rate is relatively low. But that display was looking a little bit strange, and I don't know, I guess I might be able to find out when I get home if I look at the chart and see any dropouts. So far I actually haven't noticed anything with the power or losing connectivity, but it's possible I just saw that. So hopefully that kind of shows you what we're looking at. So definitely having some display issues here. You can see how the number is way off to the left there, and it's actually not moving. I probably need to jump into a different, yeah, see, once I jump into a different power zone, but you can see kind of the number. Sorry about the directions. You can see the number kind of trailing behind the circle sometimes there. It almost went off the screen. So they have definitely some, I don't know whether it's display lag or what, but hi folks, so home from the ride in the backyard. I'm going to make this fairly quick because it's actually legitimately cold outside for the first time kind of all year. This looks like it's a little washed out because of the ambient light, I think. But it says it's 52 degrees Fahrenheit, which I think is around 10 Celsius if I'm doing the maths right. So back home, it's auto pause, but it's nice because you can actually still read it. I did try I did try to route again, and it's not working, so I'm not exactly sure what's going on. What's interesting is that I do show a kind of like a bars up here for cellular connectivity, but I don't have 4G or 3G, and I think I remembered it showing that before when it was actually connected to the data network. So I don't know if there's something wrong with my SIM card or something has changed, and I'm not exactly sure. But anyways, I do think that these little dots next to average speed and average cadence are definitely whether those values are going up and down. I did also lose heart rate partway through the ride, and what's interesting about that is that heart rate was the thing that was on Bluetooth. So when I put it on Ant Plus, which it did have, that came back. So I guess we'll go inside and look at the data. My power numbers still seem high, and that's been high for a while, so I'm not entirely sure that there's not something wrong with my stages again. As I hope showed on the video, and I'm not sure how the audio came out, this circular display starts out okay, and that gets a bit weird as you ride. So all these numbers are now down at nothing, so it's not really showing anything. So I guess what I'm going to try right now quickly, so it says cellular is on, Wi-Fi is off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop the ride, save it, and I think I'm going to try to upload it. I'm not even going to bother with a name or anything. I'm going to see if it does anything. And I immediately got a warning here. So it says something about could not upload on internet is not something, I don't know what that says. That message is incomplete. Oh, internet is not available. So I guess that would explain why it's not routing, although you can see that cellular data is on. Let's see, cellular data is in here. Connect to data services when roaming. I really shouldn't have to turn that on, but I guess you may incur significant charges. You know what? I'm not going to do that. So I guess I need to go check with my Freedom Pop account and see maybe what's going on. I don't want to incur charges because I'm basically on a free version of that, and I really don't need it very often. So I'm going to go inside, clean up, and we'll look at the data files quickly, hopefully, and that'll be that. Thanks. Hi folks, so hopefully the last section of this ginormous video. I think what I'm going to do is I did record a section. So first off, two things. I want to apologize for the video quality on the first section. I put a note in there, but I want to say it again. It looked okay on the GoPro, and then when I went to review it and compile it, something was wrong with the focus. But frankly, it's 20 plus minutes of me babbling, and I don't think I can repeat it. I just don't have time to do it over again. So hopefully it's clear enough to see. If not, scan it, skip it, watch it in double time. But it was the best I could do. You know, the setup I have right now is not very good. Some of my equipment has been borrowed by somebody else, a family member, so I don't have quite the camera setup that I've had in the past, and I probably should have thrown some more light on the situation. That probably would have helped, but anyways. The second thing is there was a section of video that I recorded, and I've just decided now that I'm going to pull it out, and that is related to someone asked me to stop the turn-by-turn directions mid-ride and try to route mid-ride. I did that, and there's one of two problems. Either it's not working, period, or there's something wrong with my SIM card. I'm not sure which. When I got back, and I think you see it in part of the video, when I got back to the house, I tried to use the SIM card's data connection to upload the ride. It wouldn't do that either. So I know the SIM card is in there, but I don't know why it's not connecting. So I need to check my Freedom Pop account and see if potentially something's going wrong with that. But so the video, in parts, I may make reference to snippets that you're actually not seeing because they were frankly so boring and they don't show anything other than the device not working. And I really don't know if it's a problem with the Karoo or with my SIM card. So I kind of don't want to throw Hammerhead under the bus in this situation where I don't really know. And I'm not sure how I'm going to figure it out because I don't necessarily have another device that I could put the SIM card into to test. So This should be interesting. Anyways, so I wanted to get to this quickly, and here we are a couple minutes in already. But generally the information is good. So I did mention, I think in the last one, that I did lose the heart rate strap briefly. I don't know why. I basically stopped on the side of the road, reached into my shirt, disconnected it, reconnected it, and it wasn't appearing on Bluetooth, but I did notice that it was appearing on Ant Plus. So I enabled the Ant Plus version of the heart rate monitor. I disabled the Bluetooth, and I think we'll see as I scan through these pages that it did pick up. Other than that, I did look at this, I did scroll through this for quite a while. You can see how far down I've gotten, and I just really didn't keep going because what basically it tells me is it's good news. I don't see any, basically where I see zeros for power, I see zeros for cadence or close enough. So I believe, and I didn't review the very old files because I don't remember which one was the Ant Plus version. But basically what I would see in the old version of the software when dealing with the Ant Plus connection is I would see a lot of zeros or chunks of zeros in here where I was clearly pedaling. I'm not seeing any of that. Every time you see the power drop to 0, you see the cadence drop to 0, and that's, that's to be expected. Even little bursts here where it's there and then it's 0 and then it's there again. Here's a little anomaly, I guess, where it's 0 cadence, but there's power, so that couldn't really happen either. So I think generally it's good news so far, at least one ride in for the power meter. Here's a cadence of, and now I'm just finding a couple. So here's a cadence of 85 and a power of 0, but it could be just a little blip there. There was some, and I haven't reviewed that part of the video yet. I was just trying to get this recorded so I could compile everything. But there was a blip in the display, and I hope I captured that because hopefully that will be helpful. And I don't know where we are in the ride really here to know if that's when this problem started happening. Because here's another one where so I said it was good, and then I look in here and I'm finding a couple of little things. So this is 16 miles in. So if this is correct, that's 16 miles in. I don't really know how to read these, honestly. It could be that there's just like a momentary issue, but generally what seems to be happening, you can see here I must have slowed down pedaling because power dropped and then it dropped to 0 when cadence dropped to 0. So it could have been just, a quick coast. Don't really know. The numbers overall seem good, although I mentioned I think that for some reason it seems like my power's high, and I wish I could chalk it up to me being a lot stronger than I was, but I think there's some sort of either zeroing problem with the power meter or I really don't know. So this is the summary, and again, I think I mentioned at some point I don't have my Garmin, so I don't have a way to compare the Karoo with the Garmin. I let someone borrow my Garmin, so I don't have it. I don't have another way to record power on a separate head unit. So I don't really know, other than looking at that edit screen and seeing that there really doesn't appear to be dropouts. I can't really tell what's going on. This all looks pretty good. I don't know what I clicked in here somehow and got these selections, and I'm not really sure how to clear them. These drops here are all when I paused, and it's probably when I paused to record video. Let's see, I think this section here is the heart rate. And because I pause, it stops recording when I pause. So, but there is, you will notice, I think this is the section where Bluetooth dropped out. So again, kind of good on the Karoo for being able to transition from the Bluetooth, the same heart rate monitor, over 2 different protocols, because you can see their speed here. So I was pedaling. There was power, so I was pedaling. There's cadence, so I was pedaling, but there's no heart rate. So thankfully I noticed that fairly quickly and kind of got it corrected. So I think what I'll do is probably just leave everything on Ant Plus right now for now. The next couple of rides, I'm actually planning to ride tomorrow morning, although I probably won't record. But I can potentially report back in comments or something if anybody asks. But again, these charts, as I've mentioned before, are way less, they're way less interesting when you don't have something to compare. I mean, it's just really a lot of squiggly lines and dots and crazy stuff. I mean, I'll flip through them in case anybody wants to pause and look for anything, but I really don't think there's much to, I don't really think there's much to see here. Mostly this chart is sort of the most interesting, I guess, when you don't have anything to compare to, because at least you can see areas where you paused, or if, and this is with smoothing set to basically nothing. So I think we would probably see really serious spikes if I was to highlight a section here or click. You can sort of see where the power dropped here. The cadence also dropped. So it sort of matches up with the data that we were seeing, and it's really not very spiky. When I was pedaling smoothly, it wasn't like there's a bunch of spikes here like it seemed like we were seeing, you know, sort of back in the day, so to speak. So anyways, good news pretty much all around, other than some quirks in the software and some things that they didn't really explain. I think it's okay. So I guess for what they're considering a fairly major update, especially with the Ant Plus connectivity, it looks like maybe they got it right. There are 2 more little snippets of video. So what I'm going to do is just tell you that if you want to be done, and I don't blame you because we're 40 minutes in or thereabouts by the time I compile this all, feel free to stop the video now. I did record a little section of video at a kind of a local site, I guess, for lack of a bit. It's almost like a vlog rather than just, you know, data analysis and talking about the device. So if you're interested in that, feel free to continue, and we'll just call that, I guess, bonus content or something for this. And otherwise, if you've gotten this far, thanks for watching.
Probably here's something many of you don't see every day, or maybe never. So the brownish, reddish stuff floating on the top of the water there are cranberries. Looks like they just flooded this bog. So what they do is they flood it, and then they have machines that typically they have machines that go through, they're like giant combs, and they sort of agitate the bushes, the cranberry bushes, I guess, for lack of I think that's what they're called, bushes, plants. And so when they agitate them, they float to the surface. So they'll push them over here, and I don't know if that's his flooding tool, or if that's something else he's using, a boom just to move them over. But you can see that fella in the water there, starting to move these cranberries over, and they'll come in with trucks and scoop them up. I think when they harvest them this way, they're typically made into juice. I don't think they can sell them as whole cranberries, or they may get used for sauce and things like that. But I don't think they can sell them as packaged cranberries that you can then use for yourself. So kind of interesting. Not a lot of places in the world grow cranberries, and this is the first I've caught them out doing this year. This is the time of year. This is definitely cranberry harvest season.